to avoid import taxes on packages under $800. So that means starting May 2nd,
advantage of a tax loophole, which allowed parcels into America under the value of $800 to avoid import levy.
In a stunning move that blindsided Washington and ignited a firestorm in global trade circles, fast fashion giants SHEIN and TEMU have effectively maneuvered around $46 billion in U.S. tariffs, leaving Donald Trump and his trade war legacy reeling. For years, Trump touted aggressive tariffs on Chinese imports as a cornerstone of his America First economic policy. But what just happened proves that even the toughest walls can be tunneled under. And SHEIN and TEMU just brought a bulldozer. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. This seismic shift comes not from an official repeal of tariffs, but from a legal and logistical loophole both companies have exploited with extraordinary precision.
The tax loophole, known as the de minimis exemption, has now been closed, meaning SHEIN and TEMU products are subject to the new 10% tariff.
At the heart of this disruption is the de minimis rule, a quiet clause in U.S. trade law that allows shipments valued under $800 to enter the country duty-free. Originally designed to ease the burden on customs for small purchases, the rule has become the secret weapon of Chinese e-commerce titans. SHEIN and TEMU, whose entire business models revolve around direct-to-consumer micro-shipments.
And if you frequently shop on SHEIN or TEMU, you may want to rush and put in some orders.
SHEIN and TEMU flooded the United States with cheap Chinese products after Donald Trump's first presidency.
Now use it to full effect, sending millions of small-value packages daily, each skirting tariffs completely. The result? A jaw-dropping $46 billion in tariffs effectively erased, with U.S. retailers, manufacturers, and policymakers scrambling to catch up. Trump's much-hyped tariffs were supposed to hit Chinese exporters hard, level the playing field, and bring manufacturing back to American soil. Instead, SHEIN and TEMU have not only sidestepped the punishment, but have flourished, expanding their reach, devouring market share, and undercutting American competitors with prices that seem almost impossible. Insiders say the former president is furious. Trump, who's been vocal about confronting China economically, reportedly blew up when briefed about the scale of the tariff workaround.
Or be prepared to pay more. President Trump is eliminating a trade loophole that allows the retailers.
Everyone was shopping online during the pandemic. Then the cost of living crisis turbocharged their popularity.
One advisor said he didn't believe it at first, dismissing it as impossible, then launching into a tirade about incompetence in customs and border protection. In private, Trump has allegedly told confidants that this revelation makes his first-term trade victories look meaningless and is now demanding a new strategy that includes smashing SHEIN and TEMU before it's too late. But the genie may already be out of the bottle. TEMU, which is backed by Chinese tech powerhouse Pinduoduo, and SHEIN, whose valuation now rivals legacy fashion retailers, have built logistics empires designed specifically to exploit de minimis. Their software determines how to split customer orders into multiple packages under $800, each shipped separately, each dodging tariffs. Warehouses in China are running around the clock, organizing orders into dozens of smaller boxes destined for individual American homes, bypassing not just taxes, but scrutiny.
To avoid import taxes on packages under $800. So that means starting May 2nd.
Advantage of a tax loophole, which allowed parcels into America under the value of $800 to avoid import levy.
What's more alarming to American lawmakers is that both companies are operating within the bounds of the law. There's no smuggling, no black market routes, no outright fraud. The law, as written, allows this. It's perfectly legal. That realization has sent shockwaves through Capitol Hill. Some members of Congress are now demanding an immediate overhaul of the de minimis rule, calling it a loophole big enough to drive container ships through. But with heavy lobbying from retail giants and consumers addicted to low prices, reform is easier said than done. Retail analysts say the effects are already visible. Domestic clothing brands are reporting declining profits. American factories, especially those in textiles, are laying off workers. Even Amazon is feeling the pressure as Temu's aggressive pricing continues to eat away at its share. And with both SHEIN and TEMU ramping up marketing and U.S. warehouse investments, the battle is only beginning. President Biden's administration has expressed concern but stopped short of promising specific action. Meanwhile, consumer advocacy groups are divided. On one hand, SHEIN and TEMU offer millions of Americans access to affordable goods in an era of inflation and rising living costs.
Estimated customs officials processed over 4 million packages a day in 2024.
SHEIN and TEMU goods will face a tax rate of 30% of their value, or $25 per item,
with goods from SHEIN and TEMU accounting for more than 30%. The sheer volume of shipments was a problem, as authorities couldn't check them all.
On the other, critics argue that their rise undermines domestic businesses, floods the market with disposable fashion, and opens the door to lax labor and environmental standards abroad. The Trump camp sees this as a betrayal, not just of policy, but of image. For a man who built his political brand on economic nationalism and confronting China, the idea that two Chinese companies could so effectively dismantle his signature tariff regime is more than a policy failure. It's an embarrassment. Trump has already begun framing this as a conspiracy of globalist sabotage. In private talks with donors, he's promised to obliterate the de minimis loophole on day one if re-elected, and has even hinted at launching a federal investigation into how SHEIN and TEMU duped America. But some economists say the Trump team is missing the bigger picture. It's not just a policy flaw, it's the evolution of global commerce. In the digital age, borders don't slow down innovation. Technology finds a way around walls, and in this case, it found a loophole buried in old legislation and turned it into a gold mine. SHEIN and TEMU didn't just bypass tariffs, they exposed the outdated nature of the American trade enforcement system. This controversy is far from over. As bipartisan pressure builds in Congress, legislation targeting de minimis is being drafted. Trade unions are demanding protections, U.S. retailers want clarity, and Trump's political rivals are seizing the moment to portray him as out of touch and ineffective, someone who promised to tame China but got blindsided by fashion apps. Meanwhile, SHEIN and TEMU continue their relentless advance. Their social media marketing is aggressive, their logistics systems are optimized to the second, and their prices keep dropping. Every package they ship under the $800 limit is not just a sale, it's a statement. Global commerce has changed, and American rules are being rewritten in real time. Whether Washington can adapt, or whether Trump can reclaim the narrative, remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, the era of tariff walls may be over, and SHEIN and TEMU just danced through the rubble.